So with really the topic of today is going to be the series on the significance of Golut and Geula, of exile and redemption, especially in our time. But now I've been asked the following question: is it possible for a human being who does not believe in Hashem in any way, can they be ethical and moral human beings? The answer, according to the Torah, is yes. And the proof for it we give in a number of ways. First of all, we should know that the Noahide code, which was revealed by God, by Hashem, that it does not have explicitly a demand to believe in Hashem, although it's an assumption. That there's a prohibition of corrupt idol worship, that does exist. If one goes into more details, the full Noahide code, it comes from Hashem, and therefore it also includes, obviously, this basis. But the concept behind this is that there's two aspects to the Noahide code. Also in the way in which it's defined, according to some versions, in the crystallization of Jewish thought and practice of the Rambam. That Hashem has given human beings a divine image. And that divine image has been described as existing in the human conscience. When a person is ethical, that means, in the sense, he wants to speak the truth and wants to avoid hurting other people in any way. And he recognizes the importance of this for the basis of his family life, of society. He knows if a person's only going to be self-centered and he ignores the needs of other people, he's not following his true inner conscience, then he can also be on a higher level. And I'll give two examples of this. One of Avraham Avinu, who spread the belief in one spiritual God, and he was the iconoclast to knock down the idols of his father, maybe also of others in Mesopotamian society. And wherever he went, he called upon the name of Hashem. When he was looking for a wife for his main son, for Yitzchak, so he sent his messenger to go to a relative who was an idolater and also even a deceiver. But go over to that family and see if you can find the suits of a wife for Yitzchak, my son, because Yitzchak wanted to stay in Eretz Israel, didn't want to leave. And also Yitzchak, so Abraham probably thought, it's difficult for him to see any wrong in other people. And therefore he can be deceived, as he was deceived. We find, even later in life. So Eliezer, when he went out to find the wife, what did he ask for? Please Hashem. He said, don't pray it to Hashem. Make it easy for me. Because Eliezer was confronted with this problem. He said, look, my daughter, if you read between the lines and to some extent in the words of the Chumash, I have a daughter raised in this home of Avraham Avinu. And she believes in God. She believes in Hashem. And she brought up all the virtues of the household. And you're sending me right over there to a family who become assimilated to the ways of the idolaters, because they're distantly related to you, to find a wife there. What do you ask from Hashem? If a girl comes out and she shows in an extreme manner the spirit of hospitality and loving kindness, to help me and the people who accompany me, to help even my animals, and she rushes here and there. If you get me such a girl, Hashem, you'll send it to me, it'll make my task much easier, because then I know she must be the right one. And that was it. Rivka was raised by Lavan and Besuel, who were known to be deceivers, Ramaim, Lavan Ha'aramai, Arami, and who were known to serve idols. And he came with a suggestion. And of course, they also knew that Yitzchak is the son of Avraham Avinu, very rich. She was keen to go. So question all the commentators ask, who's better? Says she's better. Why? Because she loves to do kindness. She is going on the path of Hashem. What does it say about Avraham Avinu and Sodom and Amorah? Hashem says to him, I know that he's going to teach his family, his household, and children after him. He says that they're going to go b'derech Hashem, which is, what's the way of Hashem? Lasot tzedakah u'mishpat. They want to establish charity and justice. That's their aim, and that's the path of Hashem. That means, and this is what I do also with Sodom and Amorah, because the annihilation of Sodom and Amorah did not become with idolatry. It became because they were the exact opposite of people with conscience. They believed in cruelty for self-centered purposes. They believed in developing their own luxurious lifestyle, but to go and even oppress the stranger and the poor. So that's a society which is anti-chesed, not derech Hashem. If you walk on the same path as Hashem all your life, which is Lasot Tzedakah Mishpat, you'll find Hashem. So that's one aspect. Now also I'll tell you, this applies in practice. And I've said it quite a few times. I said it this week. You may have seen a man, a middle-aged man, came for one day to hear a few shiurim here, called Zohar, an Israeli. So he told me he comes from a Shomatze kibbutz and never had any connection with religion at all. But in certain circumstances, he became more religious. In fact, he asked me a similar question. So I said to him, I've known in my own personal confrontation with people from kibbutzim where they are taught that Hashem doesn't exist, nothing to do with him, nothing to do with prayer, nothing to do with the mitzvot, not interested. They've accepted communist doctrines that atheistic. That's why they were brought up. But they were told, pool all your resources. Don't be out for yourself. You're a part of society, you've got to help other people. And the more you help other people, the greater you'll become. So don't go and build up for yourself. The fortune? No, we pool everything. Many of the kibbutzim, the early kibbutzim, were idealistic. They were chalutzim. When you start teaching them the way of the Torah, they're the easiest ones to bring to emunah. One to understand that the name Hashem means the source of loving kindness, the midat HaChesed. And anyone who follows the midat HaChesed is going on the path of Hashem. He gets there. He realizes that's what Hashem wants. And even this phrase is used by the sages. Hashem says, Halavai, oti azavu, utorati shamaru. I don't mind if the Jews leave me aside, but they have to observe my Torah. They have to observe, it means primarily my social commandments. So this is the teaching of the Torah. You have it in the very famous episode of the non-Jew who wanted to become a Jew, and he went to see Shammai. Now Shammai is a building surveyor, that was his profession. And he had a surveyor's yardstick. So he said to this non-Jew, he said, please teach me the Torah whilst I'm standing on one leg. So Shammai thought, to use the British expression, he was pulling his leg. Well, I should tell you, standing on one leg, the whole Torah. He said, the whole Torah is a huge building. It's a master plan of how to build up individual and social, national, universal life. And you think I can tell it to you on one pillar, which is meant by one leg. If you've got a building that's very large and high, the foundations have to be many and very deep and strong, otherwise it won't stand. So he said, the Torah is a building. So they wouldn't accept him, although the motto of Shammai was, Heve mekaber et kol ha'adam, receive every human being, doesn't say Jew, b'seva panim yafot, with a pleasant manner. But he explained to him, this is not possible. He came to Hillel. What did Hillel tell him? After all, this non-Jew wants to become Jewish. So I'll tell him something, even if he doesn't yet understand who God is, he wants him on one foot. I'll tell you what one foot is. That which is hateful unto you, do not do to your fellow man, which is the social basis for the survival of the human race. He said that's the whole Torah. And the rest is commentary. So go and study it. So if a person studies the Torah, he realizes ultimately it must come from Hashem, because there's no other way to explain it. Because if you go deep in Torah, you see, even all the laws of the Torah, regarded as chukim, they're all there for the betterment of human society. Hashem did not give us a Torah so that we become angels. He gave us a Torah that we should build up a world of peace, and a world that pursues peace, and a world that's concerned for the abolishment of starvation and poverty. A world that looks after the haves have to look after the have-nots. That's the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. And doing it, you'll be going the path of Hashem, you link up with Hashem, because that's what Hashem wants. So therefore, certainly, this is a basic principle of the Torah, that person, let's say the most of the Jewish world, and also certainly most of the non-Jewish world, they don't know the Torah. Their parents didn't know it. But Baruch Hashem, many of them were sure they will get a very good Olam Haba, because they follow their conscience. And their conscience, to use the words of a great psychoanalyst he was originally, a Freudian one. But he went through the whole Holocaust and came out with a different concept of the significance of life. And therefore, everyone knows his first book has to do with search for meaning, logotherapy. But his second major work is called The Unconscious God, that resides in each person's conscience. It's a very Jewish book. In fact, it goes back in its basics to the Maral of Prague, but it goes into very deeply. The Maral of Prague was a very deep philosopher and also a very deep psychologist of human nature. And he showed how the Torah develops a person's character to the highest level. And when I had email with him about his book, called Viktor Frankl, he said to me, I trace my family tree to the Maral of Prague. I was very pleased. I introduced him to those writings. So this answers the question, very important question. And let's put it this way. Our subject for now is Golut and Geula. And Golut means that we're far removed from Hashem. And the whole world is moved far from Hashem. Most humans are far from Hashem. The only difference in Golut and Geula is the Aleph. And the Aleph is a reference to recognizing that the whole world is there for Chesed. Olam Chesed Yibane. Hashem built the world. It should be guided by Chesed. And it becomes so clear today, in extreme manner, the difference between the moral level of Israel and the moral level of the rest of the world. With regard to the conscience of man. Because there are nations today, they don't care about death. But the nation says it. Avraham Avinu was told this even. He was told, you should know through you will be blessed all the families of the earth. Those who bless you will be blessed. Not the nation of the world. Nation of the world who bless the Jewish people. Because the Jewish people believes in the conscience, and they follow similarly, like you heard in the beautiful statement of Obama before the Iranian deal, peace in our time, which meant exactly this, that the haves have to help the have-nots, and that's the basis of American culture, that creates peace in our time. But the truth is, there are others who don't care about robbing, stealing, lying, and killing, which has been the terrible blow to America. Killing innocent people. And killing the weak, the strong kill the weak. And some today the strength is how cruel you're willing to become. And the cruelty is the change. People say, well, I'll commit suicide and that way nobody can punish me. Whatever I do, I'm committing suicide. That sort of relieves me of having to stand in front of judgment. Now from here also see, in our world, unless you really believe in Hashem, that's a higher power, then the whole of morality can collapse. Why? Because if a person says that I will get a judgment whilst I'm alive, I can get judgment from other people. And if I will do something that is so much against the principles of the conscience, it's so evil, I'll be punished. Then there's something that'll stop doing it. But a person reached the level that I know, and that there's propaganda to be made, put into my mind, sometimes already into my parents' and grandparents' mind, that I'll get the greatest love in heaven the more people I can kill, the more people to whom I can cruel. That will bring me, my concept of the judgment above is, I will be the greatest saint, but I was able to kill 3,000 innocent people. So once you reach that level of distortion of God, or you can say also like the idolaters used to say that. Idolaters used to say, Moloch worship, yeah. Throw your children into the mouth of the Moloch idol, which was a furnace, kill one or two or whatever, and the rest, you'll get blessing. That will bring you blessing. But blessing all this life. Also if there's an eternal life, you get eternal blessing. The more people you can kill, the more people you can steal from, the more lies you can tell. As is being preached by the main preacher on the mosque. He preaches, but he tells lies. He said all the killings that take place in the world, he says, all the Jews. Because they've become accustomed. You tell lies and tell them as often as possible, it'll go into people's minds. And therefore the biggest mitzvah is to kill Jews and the friends of the Jews. Whichever party you belong to, where you're going to start next. And this week they started again in Munich. So today there's a battle with the forces of good and the forces of evil. And to strengthen the forces of good, if you believe that Hashem is the power of Chesed, and that's emphasized in every time we use the name Hashem. And when it describes in Tehillim, it's unbelievable almost, the three levels of the wars of Gog and Magog. It's described in Tehillim, we say in Yom Tov and Rosh Chodesh. It says, Kol Goyim Savuni, the other nations of the world who want to destroy us, they surround me. Savuni Gam Savuni, surround me all around. I'll destroy them. B'Shem Hashem. With the name of Hashem, I can cut them off. Doesn't it? With the name of Hashem, we'll cut them out. Cut them out. Cut them out from my environment. With the name of Hashem, who's Chesed. And then it says, Sapuni Kedvorim, they surround me like the bees. When they reach the level that they will surround me like bees sting and then die, and they don't mind doing it as long as they can sting. When we reach the level of suicide bombers, they say, we'll kill ourselves. We don't have to face any other judgments here on earth. And upstairs we know we've been brain contaminated to believe upstairs where we get the biggest pleasures of the world and great praise. And it's therefore here on earth also. When a suicide bomber is able to kill, and the more the better, and to be cruel to others, the parents make a feast of it. Fantastic. You've reached such a high level, which for us is the bottomless pit of Gehinnom. That's why it's called Gehinnom as well. Moloch worship is the place of Gehinnom. So this is what we're facing today. So the Golut and Geula today is a very serious battle between life and death. And perhaps not just life and death for groups, but life and death for all mankind. So we are the ones we say, Am Yisrael Chai, people of Israel still lives, and Yisrael. That's what we're going to discuss today. What's the meaning? They say, as it says in Tehillim, the nation will get together and say, Lu Yizacher Shem Yisrael, or the name of Israel, has to be removed from the map of the world. And that's why they teach geography. That they teach all the time. But in fact, they have caused, to some extent, that the name of Israel appears in the mass media, any type, 10, even 100 times more than any other name in the world. Everybody knows Israel, what it is. I mean, they don't know what it really means. That's what we're going to start studying. What does it really mean, Israel? But everybody knows it. And the enemies of Israel in their attempt to obliterate that name from the world, they themselves, they constantly bring it into all the mass media. And the mass media go into everybody's pocket, and everybody's home, and certainly have an enormous influence upon the people's apparent knowledge of what's going on in the world, and also what went on in the world in the past. And they've reached the level, even UNESCO, on the United Nations building, so it says, all about the utopian situation of the world through Israel. But UNESCO, United Nations body for spreading culture, they've decided that the Temple Mount mentioned on their wall, that Temple Mount has no connection with Jews. It's totally Muslim, and always has been. I mean, that was the decision taken by UNESCO. So, do you have any questions?
I have a question.
It says that if someone, he keeps the Noachide Code because the details of the Noachide Code were revealed through Moshe Rabbeinu. And that is the source also to go into all the details of the Noachide Code, then is considered one of the Chasidei Umot HaOlam, one of the saints of the world, who has an equal portion with the Jew in Olam Haba and so on. However, if he came to these conclusions of the Seva Mitzvah Noach from his own mind, from his own conscience, from his own character, then he's not called one of the Chasidei Umot HaOlam, but he's called one of the Chachmei Umot HaOlam, one of the wise people. Now, the question is, what you can say? Well, if he came to a similar conclusion, then he must be a wise man. And you could, in fact, I asked one of the Greek Gedolim what this means. He said, so maybe it means you can say a broch on him, that he gave his wisdom to flesh and blood. Now, to understand this, however, more deeply, in the words of the Rambam, because the Rambam regarded Aristotle as having reached most of the concepts, deeper concepts of Torah thought through his own intelligence. We know Aristotle wrote a very good work on ethics. He believed in ethics very much. He believed in morality. He brings many deeper discussions, and there's a certain similarity between his ideas of the ethical person, but when he came to belief in God, so one of the major critics of Aristotle was the Rambam himself in the Moreh Nevuchim. And he demonstrates that Aristotle, he believed in the independent power of nature and the independent power of God. He believed in God, but not really the God of Israel. Because the God of Israel says that nature is entirely in the hands of God. That nature is really just a product of God's continuous creation. And therefore he's one of the greatest critics when it comes to understanding theology, greatest critic of Aristotle. In the Middle Ages, so the Rambam produced also a trend in Islam philosophy to argue with Aristotle. Aristotle was regarded as being very scientific in the Middle Ages, and there were many great scholars, Christian, Muslim, and Jewish, who studied Aristotle as well as the other writings of some of the philosophers that went in the same direction, and they were much influenced by it. And some of them accept Aristotle as being like people, they believe whatever the professors in Harvard say, that's science. Yeah. So Aristotle was like biggest professor of Harvard of ancient times. So they accepted him. And the Rambam was his big critic. But it does say he was also his admirer. And he also says that Aristotle reached nearly all the basic moral concepts of the Torah, his ethics, because he analyzed the human character. So it's also something in that same line. In other words, to reach the level, what's chesed? Ultimate chesed is to give whatever you have. And if God, in the middle of chesed, he keeps on giving and giving and giving. He gives everything. He gives us human thought. He gives us even the ability of freedom. He specially created the power and instinct for evil so that we would be more creative. He wants human beings to be his partners, not these. It says the first word at the end of the first chapter of Chumash, Bara Elokim La'asot. Hashem created the world and keeps on creating it. La'asot, so that human beings should complete it. Human beings have to make things more complete, which is the basic concept of the Torah. So I just end with this today. Tomorrow you can ask more questions on it, because we spoke about Israel. Israel today, which is such a paradox that unfortunately the majority of the, let's call it vociferous, those who keep on pronouncing from some of the preachers also, they say Israel's got to disappear from the world. But as a result of that, they're spreading the name of Israel in the whole world. When this preacher on the mosque keeps on saying that Israel is responsible for all deaths in the world, so therefore he's not obliterating the name of Israel. Because everybody knows it's not true. Everybody thinks objectively knows it's certainly not true. And the truth is in some extent the opposite. So this means we're living in a time when Israel becomes so well known, it's got to know what it means. So therefore, to know what it means, where do we get it from? Where is the first mention of Israel in the Bible? Can you tell me? Where?
Yaakov and Esau were fighting.
The mystical struggle between Yaakov and an angel, or an angelic type in the night, when Yaakov was left alone. You look at, I'll just read out briefly, in chapter 32 of Bereshit, in the Jerusalem Bible, page 38, so it says that Yaakov remained alone. It says a man, he struggled with him until the rise of dawn, and he saw he could not conquer him. So he touched the sinew of his thigh, and the sinew, the palm of the sinew of his thigh became dislocated when Yaakov struggled with it. So then the angel of this man, this Ish, said to him, "Please let me go," because Yaakov held him down and wouldn't let him go. He won the wrestling, but he said, "Please let me go because the dawn has risen." So Yaakov said, "I'm not letting you go unless you give me a blessing." He said to him, "What's your name?" He said, "My name is Yaakov." He said to him, "Your name will no longer be explained, Ye'emer, as Yaakov, but it will be Israel, because you have struggled with God and with human beings, and you have been victorious." So then Yaakov asked him, "So tell me, what's your name?" He said, "Why do you ask my name?" And he blessed him there. Then Yaakov called the name of that place Peniel, the face of God, because I have seen God face to face, and my life was saved. And then the sun shone for him, sunrise. Once he'd passed the place called Peniel, and he was limping on his thigh, and that's the basis for us not eating the sinews, and therefore also the hindquarter muscles and meat attached to the thigh from animals. That mitzvah is connected, this practical mitzvah in later generations was accepted in the whole people of Israel. So this is extremely mystical and demonstrates to us something very deep, which we have to explain in the next year.